G'day, Year 11s. Just want to have a look now at the example task we did for Flight Centre. So looking at a mature business, thinking of strategies around human resource management here. I want to start with the task and the criteria, then I want to show you what I've done. So it talks about Flight Centre. Use the stimulus provided, create a short business report extract. So there's not a huge amount of guidelines exactly what a business report extract is, but you want to be using subheadings, you want to have some um, paragraphs in there, and it's quite okay to use dot points or tables where you need to. So we've got to analyse Flight Centre's business situation. So there'll be an analysis tool. Well, they've told us there it's a SWOT, and interpret the analysis. Now, this is a little tricky because they haven't told us exactly what they're looking for here. But when we talk about this, we're thinking about relationships, patterns, and trends, the effects, so what's happening now because of those relationships, patterns, and trends, and drawing implications. So looking into the future of these strategies for Flight Centre's competitiveness. So interpret means find at least one relationship, pattern, and trend. So if we go down, I just want to go right the way to the end and just have a look at the criteria. So the first part is the analysis tool, which they've given us, this case is a SWOT. Selection of relevant data, use that data. So it means once you've decided what it is, make sure you put it in the analysis tool in the correct place. Really important that we need to have relevant data and information. That means you must have some data in there to be meeting these top two descriptors. Data just means business numbers. As you use the data too, you want to be referencing where you got it from, which stimulus, which source you came from, and then some analysis. So some people can do analysis. They'll do a little dot point in the strength and say this means for the business, this means whatever. I think it's quite a nice idea just to do a little summary after the table of the business analysis. And then we get on to the second thing that we've got to do, synthesizing. So relationships, patterns, trends. We have to interpret the effects of these on the business. So what's actually happening now in the business because of those relationships, patterns, and trends, and think about implications, conclusions. So that's the forward-looking part of this for the business. It's really important that you have to have at least one relationship, pattern, and trend. Have one of each, at least one of each in the analysis. So let's sneak over and have a peek at what I've done. I'm not going to go all through the stimulus. I put together quite a number of pieces of stimulus to make sure we had plenty that we could work on with. So here's my response to that. So let's have a look. It was a SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. There's nothing too exciting there, I would hope. So some of the data I've drawn. Now, first of all, are there business numbers? I just want a little check. You absolutely got staff numbers here. We've got ratings numbers over here. We've got data about inflation and cash rates over here. So plenty of data in there. So we've missed that. We've increased productivity by 52% here. Let's think about the strengths. So strengths, remembering strengths and weaknesses are internal to the business. So diverse group of staff, that can be considered a strength. We've learned a lot about that. We've learned a lot about that for what happens in human resources, the way it can help engage with customers, the way it can bring about a diversity of ideas. It's a positive thing. It's offered impressive HR support services over time, and it's increased productivity. So it's like a financial marker. So we can see that as an internal thing. I've got a weakness there that the attitude of some staff or the ratings of some staff on important things are not high from employees. Opportunities. So now in the marketplace of finding employers, they should be they can consider themselves an employer of choice. That may help them attract staff. And there's an article about AI, using AI in recruiting. So technology is always one of those things that fits into an opportunity. Threats, the economic situation at the moment is there's a tight labour market, and for the business more generally, high inflation and increased cash rates. Now, they're just the points that I've popped in there. I've then put, what do the SWOT mean for Flight Centre? So that's that little bit of analysis, that third dot point in this one. The SWOT shows that they have a human resources challenge, needing to rebuild staff in a tight labour market with low unemployment. So these things have all come out of the SWOT. Everything has to come out of the SWOT, this and the relationships, patterns, and trends. While the Flight Centre has a history of winning HR awards and implementing innovative strategies, it is concerning that employee ratings of Flight Centre are poor. So we've put together a couple of ideas there. Then I've made a comment about AI could be implemented to make recruiting more efficient at a time when finding staff is difficult. One of the things I like about doing this little bit of analysis after the tool is you can put ideas together. So you can say AI is efficient, recruiting staff is difficult, those things match up nicely. You can also talk about the overall human resource challenge, rebuilding staff, tight labour market, low unemployment. Low unemployment means there aren't many people available there to work. Now we get to the relationships, patterns, and trends. So the first relationship, I've said, so relationship are two variables that work together. The relationship between increased market share and diversity strategies in terms of HR. And I've then said that Flight Centre has mature diversity strategy in place through the Come As You Are strategy. You notice I've also referred to the sources there, meaning they're a strong position. So this is the effect. What's that mean now? They're in a strong position to benefit from the positive impact of a diverse workforce. Trends, a clear trend has been the increasing challenge of recruiting a skilled workforce, with staff shortages and increasing labour costs making this challenging. So I referred to the resources. What does this mean? What's the effect on the business now? For Flight Centre, this is making it hard to rebuild a skilled staff following COVID-19 staff cuts. There's two things working against them now. They cut their staff during COVID-19. It's hard to find staff now. And a pattern is something that repeats over time, so it's important to try and emphasise that element. There's a clear pattern of Flight Centre being an innovative employer with innovative human resource strategies repeatedly being implemented. So trying to emphasise this idea that it's a pattern, something that happens repeatedly over time, including profit sharing, pursuing diversity, health and financial support, and a family, village, tribe organisational structure. This is supported by the pattern of repeatedly winning human resource awards 4 times in the last decade, including an Employer of Choice award. So the effect is that they've been very successful in that human resource area. So the conclusion, this is thinking about the implications. What does it mean for the business going forward? SWOT shows the key challenge for Flight Centre is rebuilding their staff following this COVID-19 downturn when staff numbers decreased sharply. They're having to do this in the context of a tight labour market, finding staff more challenging. While Flight Centre have won many HR awards and implemented innovative strategies, the relatively poor reviews from employees, you notice that was up in the weakness in the SWOT, suggest that more focus on making sure employees appreciate what they're doing is important. I haven't quite finished that sentence. It makes sense to continue pursuing employer of choice HR strategies. An initial focus on work-life balance rated 2.4 out of 5 by employees is a strong starting point. And that response all fits within the 400 to 500 word limit, and it is important that we are aware of and sticking to that limit when we answer these